This is Ken Smith reminding you it happened today, June 11th. But the year was 1429. It's called the Hundred Years' War, fought primarily between England and France. And over those 100 years, 3.5 million people died. It was on this day, 1742, Benjamin Franklin invents his Franklin stove. 1770, Captain James Cook discovers the Great Barrier Reef off of Australia. For some of you, the funniest movie you've ever seen was released on this day, 1937, The Marx Brothers, A Day at the Races. It was on this day, 1959, that the Postmaster General bans D.H. Lawrence's book, Lady Chatterley's Lover. 1 year later, the U.S. Court of Appeals would reverse the finding. It was on this day, 1963, that Governor Wallace tries to prevent blacks from registering at the University of Alabama. It was this day, 1963, a Buddhist monk immolates, sets himself on fire at an intersection in Saigon in opposition to the war in Vietnam. And yet, a few years later, almost oblivious to all that's happening, 1977, I'm Your Boogeyman by Casey and the Sunshine Band peaks at number 1. It was this day, 1982, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, directed by Steven Spielberg, is first shown. It was on this day, 1987, Margaret Thatcher is the first prime minister in 160 years to win a third consecutive term. It was this day, 1990, that the UN appoints pop singer Olivia Newton-John as their environmental ambassador. It was this day, 2009, that the World Health Organization declares H1N1, swine flu, to be a global pandemic, the first such incident in over 40 years. It was just a year ago, 2019, that comedian Jon Stewart delivers an angry rebuke to Congress for the lack of funds for 9/11 victims. But that was June 11th in the past. This is June 11, 2020. And we woke to the demands of some leaders to remove monuments. Some are calling for the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Monument to be torn down. The Speaker of the House wants 11 statues taken down at the Capitol. While we woke to see in Boston the beheading of a statue of Columbus taken from a park. In what many represent as one of the most rapid shifts in racial attitudes in the United States. In 2016, 27% of Americans supported Black Lives Matter as a movement. Today, 57% of Americans support the movement and believe that both the police and society as a whole are beset by systematic racism. While all this is going on, Americans have transitioned to working from their homes. A Gallup analysis shows that share increasing over time. 62% of workers today are working from home. According to Gallup, 62% of people today are working at home. And when the ban is lifted, 53% of people would prefer to remain working remotely or at home, while 47% said they would prefer to return to their office. Well, this is a day filled with good news, bad news, confusing news. Behind it all is the one truth that this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is Ken Smith reminding you it happened today, June 11th, 2020.